Well, hey everybody, this is Kirk Anderson. I'm with Rotary Club, and right now we're doing a presentation for Rotary E-Club Worldwide. It's a District 5960 project that is kicking off this year. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speaker today, who is going to be talking about something that's very passionate to her, and that is clean water. And so, Patty, I want to just welcome you to our e-club and thank you for presenting. I'm going to give the floor to you. You want to introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us all about your project and what you're doing. That would be great. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kirk, thank you. And I'm absolutely happy to be here. And I'd like to give a special thanks to District 5960 for including me in this kind of inaugural event for the E-Club. So thanks for the invitation to share my work with H2O for Life and my story with you today. I'm a relatively new member of Rotary, joining the White Bear Lake Club this past January. Over the past 8 years, I've provided presentations to numerous Rotary clubs introducing H2O for Life, including a presentation in Lisbon at a past international conference. During my years as a teacher, the 7:30 a.m. Rotary Club in White Bear Lake did not fit into my schedule, but after retiring, I was inspired to join a very active and dedicated club focused on both local and international service. 2 years ago, H2O for Life collaborated with WASRAG, the Water and Sanitation Rotary Action Group, Procter & Gamble as a corporate sponsor, and Africare, an implementing non-governmental organizational partner, to provide funding for wash-in schools, water sanitation and hygiene education for schools around the world. Half the schools in the world do not have access to clean water and toilets. WASH projects can change this. Not only do students have access to improved facilities, but water and toilets change communities and provide opportunities for youth. How did a local White Bear Lake woman get involved with water projects around the world? Here's my story. In 1995, I traveled to Kenya with my mother and daughter to embark on a dream of a lifetime. My mom was a huge Tarzan fan in her youth and always talked to me and my siblings about Africa. She dreamed of Africa. When my father suddenly passed away, we planned a trip to Kenya. My mom, daughter, and I went on a trip that indeed has changed my life. We fell in love with Kenya, and again, because of my mom, went back later to help build a health center. She said she wanted to really see how the Kenyan rural people lived. While volunteering, we lived in Kayumbu, a small rural community near Kisii, Kenya. The closest phone was an hour and 45 minutes away, where we noticed the effects of inadequate sanitation and hand washing all around us. We also saw what an arduous task it was to collect water, and once collected, the dirty, polluted water had to be boiled. 3 stone fires, collecting wood, a safe drink of water was a lot of work. Our volunteer group had access to bottled water because we could buy it. And we took many beautiful photos, as all tourists do, of women and children carrying buckets of water on their heads walking long distances. We really didn't understand the big picture. Every day, people were dying due to unsafe water and lack of adequate sanitation. Over the next 10 years, I continued to travel to Kenya, and on each trip, we packed suitcases of books, medical supplies, and other items that we would donate to communities. All of this was before the days of high baggage fees. We did what we could as a small group of individuals trying to help people we had met. When traveling in Kenya, I relied on our trusty driver and my good friend Christopher Matuku, a private tour guide, to provide transportation, translation, and he could always be counted on to provide an amazing, authentic experience for us. More than 10 years after our first visit in the summer of 2006, Christopher sent me a short email. He asked, did I know anyone who could help his community build a water system? Their children were dying due to lack of water. My first instinct was to say, I don't think so, but instead I sent an email back and asked, how much do you think it will cost? He replied, 660,000 Kenya shillings. I gulped, but then I did the money conversion and the cost was around $7,000. Christopher and I proceeded to email back and forth so that I could ask questions about project details, oversight, and how we would get them the funds, all the details I needed. Email for Christopher was not easy in 2006. There was no access to a cell phone and limited computers existed in the country. He had to travel from Kathungu village to Nairobi to send each email, 2 to 3 hours by matatu or local bus. By August, I felt I had enough details to move forward. I was a teacher at Highview Middle School in New Brighton, Minnesota, and our school had 800 students. I wondered if we could raise enough funds. Middle schoolers are a different breed. I knew they would either love and embrace the idea of helping, or the idea wouldn't fly at all. My plan was to give it a try. I introduced the water project in Kenya to our faculty and was thrilled that everyone thought it was a great idea and asked how they could help. It was an amazing school year. Our students raised over $13,000 for Kathungu Village, enough for the Kathungu community to construct a sand dam that today provides water for over 1,000 people throughout the entire year. The river never goes dry. I visited the project after 5 years and again after 7 years and can confidently report to my former students, many that I keep in touch with through an alumni H2O for Life network, that their actions changed lives. Key teachers and volunteers worked with our students, and we witnessed transformational change in our school. Students developed leadership skills. They became more globally aware. We learned about water, and our school project included all students. Our climate became more welcoming, and Highview was a great place to be. At the end of the school year, I hopped on a plane and visited the village. The community welcomed me, and we dedicated the project. When I returned to Highview and met with my 8th grade committee of students, that was my aha moment. One student said to me, "You mean if I went to Kathungu, I could see that project?" They had worked so hard, put their hearts and souls into the efforts, and they really weren't sure what the outcome would be. They probably had not done similar work in the past. Often we ask kids to donate to cancer drives, earthquakes, tragedies around the world, and they're all good causes. But students never see the results of their efforts. They don't see the impact. I realized our project showed them that their actions had impact. The project was real, and they could help change the world. It was powerful. During this time, I met a man who helped push H2O for Life into existence. I was a teacher who was thinking one and done. We were going to do the project, and that was going to be the end. But David Douglas is a true water advocate. In fact, he funded an organization with that name. I met him, shared my story, and he asked, "Can you get me 10 U.S. schools next year? Because I have 10 WASH projects that really need funding." Thus, H2O for Life began as a nonprofit, providing global school partnerships and curriculum for teachers. And by the end of this school year, 2015, our school-to-school partnerships will have funded WASH projects for more than 700 schools around the world. With the help of teachers, parents, and students, H2O for Life has grown, and our projects are providing WASH, and more importantly, providing an incredible global service learning program for U.S. youth. Why is WASH in schools important? The statistics are compelling and not always something that we in the United States are aware of. 750 million people lack access to clean drinking water. That's 1 in 9 people on our planet. Over 2 billion don't have access to an adequate latrine. Millions of people die every year due to illnesses caused by unsafe water, and most are children under the age of 5. The task of carrying water literally falls on the shoulders of women and children, and it's mainly girls. Girls miss many days of school because of time spent carrying water, and if there's not an adequate latrine at their school, they drop out once they reach puberty. We can help change this through WASH in Schools implementation. On the flip side, our youth are learning about water, both local and global, through provided lesson plans, and they will be future leaders in conservation and advocacy. How does this fit with Rotary? Let me share a short story. The first year that we were learning about water, I had an amazing group of 8th grade students who had the opportunity to provide a presentation to a local Rotary club. With the help of other teachers and parents, we loaded up our car with 16 students, 8 girls and 8 boys, and headed off for a Rotary lunch meeting. The kids created a PowerPoint and shared their ideas, and they were so pumped to work with water. Following their presentation, they had lunch scattered throughout and seated with Rotarians. As we rode back to school, one of my squirrely 8th grade boys said, "Hey, Ms. Hall, I didn't know that adults sat around and offered to do so many great things. That was really neat." Thus, the poster that's on the screen, this is how kids view water, and it's all about the water dude. I love that because that's the takeaway that 8th grade students have. This was eye-opening. Most Rotary clubs I visit, and it's still true today, are comprised of older members, and I'm one of them. And the question being asked is, how do we attract younger members? The answer, get to know them and have them get to know us while they are young. Interact provides a great opportunity to work together with high schools and introduce students to Rotary. Our H2O for Life program fits well with the mission of Rotary. We provide aligned curriculum that teachers love and engagement that is meaningful to youth, and it's just a natural connection. H2O for Life collaborated 2 years ago to fund Wash in Schools project for 15 schools in Tanzania and 15 schools in Malawi. Together, Rotarians in our U.S. schools donated $320,000. Our corporate sponsor, Procter & Gamble, provided 2 million gallons of clean water for initial hygiene education, and they also provided additional funds for the projects, matching our donations. And Africare, our implementing partner, mobilized local communities to provide in-kind labor, materials, and monetary contributions, as well as training of local community members to maintain and sustain the projects. 17,000 students at 30 schools and their communities received access to clean water and toilets through our collaborative efforts, and 50,000 youth in the United States were educated about the global water crisis and took part in our campaign. At the upcoming Rotary International Conference in Brazil, H2O for Life and WASREG will announce a new collaborative effort to provide wash in schools to 30 more schools in Malawi and 30 schools in Nigeria. We need your help. We need clubs to engage their local schools, inspire Interact clubs to work together to partner one of these 60 schools, and raise funds that will not only change lives for students in Nigeria and Malawi, but will change lives for students in our classrooms as well, and most likely will change the way you look at water and the impact of WASH provides going forward. On the screen are the before and after pictures of a school we worked with in Uganda, and you can see that the water they were getting before a well came to their community was not water that any of us would want to drink, but providing a simple well at a school and toilets can truly be life-changing. Over the weekend at the District 5960 conference in Rochester, I heard a brilliant idea. We were talking about Interact clubs and high school kids and how busy high school kids are, but why not have the Interact clubs also be mentors for middle school partnerships within your area as well? Middle school students, and I know because I spent 25 years with them, are passionate about social justice, building relationships, and leadership skills. And they have time to engage in a project that interests them. They idolize students and value them as role models. Imagine the impact we can make by including more engaged participants. Here's how we hope it will work. Rotary clubs interested in WASH in schools may choose a project from our list of schools in Nigeria and Malawi. Now we are doing a district grant in 5960 to do 4 school projects in Nigeria. We're hoping that gets approved. And we hope that clubs will reach out to their local schools, invite them to help. Rotarians have kids in schools, principals and superintendents are members, and we need to make these connections happen. In return, when a school in Minnesota or across the country registers with H2O for Life, we will encourage them to reach out to their local Rotary club. We can make these connections happen. I hope that Minnesota can be a model of collaboration between Rotary clubs and schools focused on WASH in schools that will encourage clubs and schools across the country to work together. Schools around the world will receive water, our students gain amazing skills in leadership, teamwork, global education, and they will be the next generation to change the world. And Rotary clubs have the opportunity to more broadly share their love of service that will impact on future club membership. In conclusion, I'd like to share 2 of my favorite quotes. First, The Impact of Education by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. And for all of us, how wonderful it is that nobody need to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world by Anne Frank. So I encourage all of you to check out our website, learn more about the collaboration, and figure out how you and your club and the schools in your community can make WASH happen for schools around the world.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Patty, for presenting all that information. It was very helpful. And yeah, I guess I'd like to have just a little conversation with you, if that's okay, just to kind of pull things to a conclusion. How long did it take you to initially get that first project? Once you got the email from that person to actually getting something done?
You know, it was an amazing year, and we were working directly with the community, which going forward, I probably don't recommend highly unless you have boots on the ground, because it was taking a risk. Our goal that year was to raise $7,000, and I was truly hoping our kids could make that happen. And we had raised our first $7,000 by Christmas. So that was kids getting together, doing actions, and making things happen. So I sent the first wire transfer in January. The community immediately began work, and we continued to raise funds, which allowed the community to build two steps in this sand dam project, way more than they expected to do. In June, I went and dedicated the project. So the project was completed by the community between August, when I committed to doing this work with them, to June of that following, the end of the school year. Initially, we started working with mostly really large organizations, and the projects don't move as quickly because they're big ships and big machines to move. We typically now work with smaller organizations where the dollars that our students provide have a huge impact on those organizations. For the Rotary collaboration, we're working with Africare, which is a large organization, but on the other hand, we're hoping to raise a lot more funds that will provide funding to support that effort. Typically, the projects, though, are going to take within a year of when the money is provided to the group. So that means that if a school spends the entire year raising their funds and we send the money to the partner in June, the project won't be implemented until their next drilling season, building season, and it'll probably take 6 months for them to see the results of their work.
Well, I just think that as a Rotarian, sometimes we will get excited about a project and it will take longer than we expected, or there'll be complications, and that can be discouraging. So it's really good to hear stories from people who have fought through that and found success at the end and continue to fight and see success. It's motivating to hear that. So that's fantastic. You know,
Well, I think another thing too is that we learned lessons from our last Rotary collaboration. We had 15 schools in Malawi and Tanzania, but the NGO partner didn't define the order of implementation. So people choose school projects for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's the name that's intriguing to them of the school. This time we're being a lot more targeted, and we're going to take the first 5 schools in Malawi and the first 5 schools in Tanzania that will receive implementation, match those first, and continue to add schools in the order that they're going to be done, because we had schools pick the school that was last done, and they were the first funders in, and they had to wait 2 years for their results. Schools that came in and did a quick project that was first on our implementation list didn't wait very long at all. So we learned a lesson from that, and we want to have these projects be done as quickly as possible so that results are shared with those people that are donating.
Well, I just am excited about what you're doing, and want to remind Rotarians that might be listening to this program or watching this video that your Rotary Club is likely looking for an international project, and particularly an international project that focuses on some form of education, some form of sanitation, some form of literacy. Water is a huge component of that, and healthcare. So this is potentially something that your Rotary Club could support through donations or through collaboration with a school in your area. If you could introduce Patty or H2O for Life to your school, and that could be a real opportunity for not only you to have an international project, which all clubs are striving to have, but for you to make a difference in the world. And so I pulled up H2O for Life's website. If you are looking for a project, make sure you go to h2oforlifeschools.org and check out the website. Very nice website with all the information that you need to get started. Patty, thank you so much for being a part of our first program with Rotary E-Club. And I just appreciate it so much, and I wish you the best. Do you have any closing thoughts before we close down the recording?
Well, Kirk, thanks so much for the opportunity. And I know that Wash in Schools is going to be a big part of Rotary Club's initiatives going forward. I'm going to Brazil and taking part in 2 presentations while at the international conference. So I really hope that Minnesotans embrace this, and clubs around the world will get engaged with us to bring water to people that desperately need the next safe drink of water and toilets. And then there's one last comment I'd like to make from Minnesota Rotary Club members.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that October 19th through the 23rd, we have a motivational, inspirational speaker within Minnesota that's going to be out speaking to schools. It's a great opportunity for Rotary to introduce this opportunity to their local schools and join them in choosing a partner project and making something great happen for Washington schools.
Well, thank you very much, and we wish you the best. And again, I would encourage any Rotarian to go back to their club and get involved in this very good project.